as a result of the 2020 pandemic, when consumers were just complaining constantly about not getting their refund in a timely manner, the DOT ruled that in 2022 actually is when this began, and then they ruled in April and it went into effect October 28th, that if you are the merchant of record. So what that means is that if your client paid you for the airline ticket and you paid the airline, then if their flight is delayed more than 3 hours domestically or 6 hours internationally, or if their flight is canceled, and the clincher here is their flight is canceled or their flight is delayed at least 3 or 6 hours, and they do not accept an alternative from the airline, then they are due a refund within 7 days of the airline. Of course, they're going to notify you. So, or let's assume they will. Obviously, a lot of times we pay FunJet or Pleasant or Classic or who, or the cruise line. They issue the ticket. They are the merchant of record. So it has nothing to do with us. However, there are those times, for example, that like on my annual groups, I don't know if any of you have ever noticed this. I think everyone on here actually is pretty OG, so you already know this, but you can't book more than 9 tickets at a time on any booking engine, whether that's the airline, Expedia, whatever it is, a GDS. You have to go to the airline directly, create a group contract, and book as a group. Unfortunately, airlines don't allow more than 1, sometimes 2 forms of payment to pay for that entire group. So you end up, like in my situation, I collect the money for all those airline tickets, and then I pay the airline and the airline issues the tickets. So now I am the merchant of record. So if that flight would cancel and my clients couldn't go, or if it was delayed more than 3 or 6 hours and we decided to just book a whole new airline ticket on another carrier, that refund is due back to my clients legally within 7 business days. But you and I both know we don't have the money, and there is no provision for when the airline has to refund us. So it could be months before we get the money. And in the meantime, we have had to refund, let's say in this case of Germany, it's $1,600 per ticket. There's 27 people going. I would be on the hook for that. There are 2 ways to deal with this. So just keep that in mind. If you're collecting money for an airline ticket and you are paying for it with your credit card, now you are the merchant of record in any situation because you paid for the ticket and you accepted funds from someone else. So the good news is, 1, if you charged a fee and you said this fee is non-refundable when you were issuing a ticket, that does not have to be refunded, period. It does not say you cannot charge for refunding a refundable ticket, like a service fee. So you can do that. A representative for the DOT when I was in Washington, D.C. said that we don't have the time or manpower to go over these to go after these little agencies. So how long would it take for the DOT to actually come after you? Well, we don't really know because this just went into effect a couple of days ago. However, I think the penalty is something like, but I want to say it's like $1,600 per occurrence. So I have 27 people. So now I have fees of $1,600 times 27 for not refunding them in a timely manner if it does reach that resolve. If it does reach the DOT and they make a ruling.
Wouldn't somebody have to complain to them? Because otherwise, how would they know, right?
Correct.
So you'd have to have a
Absolutely.
client complaining.
Yes.
So there's a couple hoops to jump through before they hit us with it, but
Exactly.
there is the chance of it.
Exactly. The DOT was on the stage and we were asking these questions and they're like, they're not really going to come after you for one, you know what I mean? Refund or whatever, or they just don't have the manpower, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, that is not good enough answer. We need this reversed or changed. So that's what I was doing in Washington, D.C., is working on 2 policies that would enhance this. So basically, one of them is we have to refund the client within 7 days of receiving the refund from the airline. So that's the first thing we were working on. And the second is we want to be on the committee. There's a committee of 4 for the Department of Transportation that made this ruling. However, I can't really say that they really didn't understand because ASTA was in there. Hey, you can't do this because that's not the way it works. That's unreasonable. The way I put it when I was advocating to our representatives, the senators and the House of Representatives, is the first refund, I can refund. It's going to be a hardship, but I'll get it done. The second refund, I'm going to lose the farm, the family farm, the 4-generation family farm. That's what this means. Just the second one. So first person gets a refund, second person doesn't even get a refund. And I lose the family farm. I lose my business. Your state loses the business. You've got a bankruptcy. You know what I mean? Like nobody wins after the first refund request. So this is not just ridiculous. It's inconceivable. That was our argument. Nobody wins in this when it's a small business because they can't do it. And you're not even saying the airlines have to refund in any kind of a certain, there is no deadline. Anyway, that's what we're up against. So we have some options and I'd like to open it up for anyone else who has questions or options as well that they can think of that would result from this. But one is, I mean, you hate to say no, because again, now you're telling your clients, no, I'm not going to issue this. You, as the group leader, have to collect all the money and pay for these airline tickets yourself. You know, I might organize it for you, get the contract, you sign it, you pay. That's one way to do it. We're kind of offering a service, but not really, because the group leaders come to us for the service of organizing it, collecting payments, and that's a lot of work. So again, that's not consumer friendly because we're refusing to help them and serve them because of the liability involved. So we can do that. We can refuse to serve them and just tell them, sorry, I can't because there's a law that basically inhibits me from helping you with this. So if you don't like it, go to the DOT and complain like you did during COVID, because that's what this stemmed from. You know, another thing is we can just keep doing things as we always have and just assume that everything's going to go okay.
Jennifer, what about when we book them direct through the airline and use the client's credit card?
You are not the merchant of record.
I hope so. Hope not.
Yeah, it's their credit card directly to the carrier. You're just providing a service. So the merchant of record would be more the client is paid Island Bridal for an airline ticket. Now we are the merchant of record. We're turning around, taking those funds and paying the airline. On the client's credit card statement or the receipt, we are the merchant of record. We are the receivers of the funds. So we are, and if it's meant for air travel, we are to refund that then within 7 days of getting notice from the carrier that it is refundable.